Good evening, how you doing today? I told y'all I was going to give you 5 in a row, maybe 6, but I'm trying to keep them going, and this is a new video. It's one that's very interesting. Some parts of, not this video, but some part of the research that had to be done was saddening, because I realized that our people today, although we as individuals are accomplishing a great deal for ourselves as individuals, but as a whole, a collective body, we are much worse off than the individuals of the 1940s, 1840s, 50s, and even up into the early 1900s, up to 1901, 1910. And I started realizing how much we had accomplished during the time of the Reconstruction. And we accomplished a great deal at the time of Reconstruction. We'll talk briefly about that, but I want to get into the verses. The gold and silver of the Negro Aboriginal in North and Southeast USA. Now, why do I talk about that? Because of the Iroquois. Some of them call it Iroquois, but because of them, they was the ones that the Cherokee came from. That's when you got the Cherokee Nation in Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and parts of Florida. You had a nation here, a Hebrew nation. They call it the Cherokee Nation, but the Cherokees was not the only ones on that nation. You had the Seminoles, you had the Creeks, and you had various other tribes on that nation, but all of them was family. All of them was part of the Southern Iroquois. Okay, and we talked about them last week, that whole essence of knowledge that came, that Hebrew type atmosphere that was here in America, and it was denied for you to understand or know that this ever exists. These people were way ahead of the Europeans in many of their ways. Now, most people don't know that. They'll say, well, because the Europeans may have these some of the European lords and dukes and other people may have these big, beautiful castles, but the regular people, they live in no castles. The regular people live in squatter houses and all this other nonsense. But over here, on this side of the Atlantic, you had a lot of the black people had nice homes. And they weren't just log homes. They was nice homes where the Indians controlled at one time the wood mills and all that other stuff, and they had lumber cutting, different type of decoration, all kind of stuff they had doing. And most people don't give credit for that. They don't talk nothing about the Cherokee cities and towns that will look better than you can in some of the urban areas, some of the areas of Europe. You had William Penn talk a lot about it and wrote letters back home about how these areas and the children and the civilization was just like the Hebrews that walk around in certain streets of London and stuff like that. But see, they don't teach you that in school. They teach you the Trail of Tears Indian type environment, which there was no Indian native type environment. They don't teach you about black folks. You was the Indians that everybody talking about, and they have taken you away from knowing that and told you came over on a ship across the ocean, and the ship had no motor on it. And they got across those 5 rivers underneath that ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, just sailed across here. See, you've been lied to. You've been lied to. And you need to start doing your homework. Quit trying to believe something because somebody wrote something and they call themselves a scholar. And these people was writing stuff in such of a way not to disturb the status quo. So they weren't going to put certain things in there. Now you find a private letter where one of them, like William Penn, write his friend and tell him certain things. And some of the other Germans and other ones came over, which they didn't have that biased attitude in their writing and stuff. They told the truth. But a lot you have not been told. A lot you have not been told. People, this was your land. You the one grew that tobacco. You the one grew that cotton. That was your product. And you need to see this. And they've been making it seem like the U.S. century had all this cotton leaving the United States and going all over the world. You see them Them pictures of the barges coming out of Mississippi and Louisiana with that cotton going up north and stuff like that. People, most of that cotton was grown on your own land. It was grown on your land. And these guys and these people were just taking it and going and selling it in New York, or New York crossed the sea. And that's what was happening. But that was what you was taught to grow. And when they talk about cotton was like gold, that's how you had it. You made it like that. You had a lot of farmers and a lot of people, black folks, had wealth too now at that time, back in the day. And we got to see these things. Y'all wasn't poor black folks now. You had a lot of them, the ones that you see, and they talk a lot about as being the slaves. They was prisoners of war. Andrew Jackson, and before Andrew Jackson, these guys was capturing these Indians and running them off and taking the children and putting them under the settlers that were coming over from Europe, and they used them as servants and slash slaves, okay? And that's what was happening at that time. And we think, oh, they said they saw a boat cross from Africa and he sailed on cross there and came right on cross there. Well, get the heck out of here. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Tell me what boat with some sails could sail from Africa over to the United States unless they go up the coastline, go up there by Greenland and come back around. But tell me what boat, what sailboat that could sail straight across the Atlantic over to America in that time, in the 16, 15, 16, 17, 1800s. Okay? I want to see that. I make that comment. Go prove me wrong. See, because you've been lied to, and you need to study about that Atlantic Ocean and how voyages at that time, how they had to navigate over here to the new land, the new America. And see, people been lying, oh, we had 300 slaves on there, we had that many slaves, and plus, you know, they don't talk about the water and the food, okay? And some of them draw a drawing of slave ships, and them drawings be in the 1800s when they draw the thing. And that's just their ideology. It's nothing real. It's just an idea. And you look at it, whoa, look how them black folks, how they had all those packed in there like sardines of God. They was trading slaves from the island, Jamaica, back up here, from here back there. The slaves ain't want to do obedient, disobedient there in Jamaica, whatever. They'll send them up here. The ones ain't so cool up here, they'll send their butt down there. And see, they wasn't looking at that. These people actually from the island, these people actually natives from America. They did some in a slave trade like that. But when you're talking about coming from England and stuff, and I know they show you sometime, they go to the England bomb. I think he was visiting one of the slave, what they call killers and stuff like that, and talking about, well, we did this and we did that. I'm not saying that they had no slaves coming from there and going to Europe, etc. I ain't say they had none. But the number that they are talking about is all lies. If they tell you that you come from Africa and you don't know that they done took your land, and you don't study and see that they done took your land, you was Hebrew over here, Hebrew Cherokee, Hebrew native over here. You had the knowledge of the Old Testament, my people. You had that knowledge. You had that knowledge. You had that knowledge, excuse me. You had that knowledge of the Old Testament, and you knew all these things. And they don't say, I talked to an Indian, a tribal person, just last week, and we was talking about things, and they seen the star. They seen the star there that we're going to talk about. They seen that, and they seen the writing. They said, that's what we use. We use that in our ceremonies. And I said, it said it just got a little difference in it, but how you got the political part, the social part, and the economic part. I said, that's what we use. I said, that's part of our tradition. But we don't have it like that, but it's similar. It's a circle, but it's showing the same thing. And I said, yes. I said, that was the Hebrew tradition that they kept, and they understood the arts. These people knew the arts. They knew what they called the cross philosophy or the Ankh philosophy. They knew that. That's how they could build a civilization like they do. You cannot build a civilization unless you understand morals, economics, social, political, diet and appetite. You have to have those 5 things to grow and build a civilization, a meaningful civilization, cities, towns, etc. They had that. But they wanted to show you something different, and Hollywood never show you their towns and what the houses look like and what they lived in before the settlers and when the settlers first came over. They show you the Trail of Tears, the teepee, when they had to get up each day because the armies was guiding them, trying to get them to go out to Oklahoma way. And that's what you need to see. You need to open your eyes. You need to do some studying, my people. You need to study, all black, white, everybody. They need to study this thing and see that big lie been told and been taught in our history classes and etc. Even up into the university level. And we need to understand that. Now, the gold and silver of the Negro Aboriginal in North and South America, USA, Southeast USA. Now, why do I say that? Because one of the reasons I say that, because the first gold rush in America was in the state of Georgia. They went and took those Cherokee, and I want you to understand something. You got to understand this here. Anytime you find gold in one area, and then they call the thing, the vein done run dry and all that, there's some gold still there, okay? There's some gold still there. You got stories about the Incas, you got stories about the Anunnakis and all this stuff. Go to the same area, mine, and get gold, okay? And I don't know too much about that, but you hear stories, so I just mentioned the stories, okay? Okay, but yet, in that area, they was grabbing, they was getting gold and mining for gold. And they didn't want that Cherokees to control that land because that was their gold. They was taking those Cherokee gold, so Andrew Jackson had to put an end to those Cherokee owning that land and fix it where, well, the United States, the settlers could own that land. And not a lot of people don't own that. And around the area where gold was found, in that area not far from that, you found major cities sprung up and stuff like that. And see, they don't want to tell you that. They want to keep all this hidden from you. They don't want to tell you that they didn't just steal your land, they stole your gold too. And you don't know that. And you got to see these things because the black man and black woman is in critical condition right now because they are not unified. They have no true unity like they should have in the area of political, in the area of social, in the area of morals, in the area of economics, in the area of their eating habits. They eat just like everybody else, eat any and everything, and instead of eating the type of diet similar to what Dr. Sebi and some of the others, even Eurocentric scholars that tell you about eating certain things and growing certain products. See, the black family is not following the Bible with the true understanding of God's will for them as they are mentioned in this book. See, when you talk about teaching this book to the native at that time when they first came over with the book, you were preaching to the choir. Because the natives already knew the Old Testament. They wasn't into the New Testament. They had to force the New Testament on them. They was into the Old Testament knowledge. So when you say something in the Old Testament, they could resonate with that. They could even write something in their own language and their own thought, what you're saying. It's going to be similar. So the mythology, no matter how the mythology is saying, if you understand the language of the mythology, you could put some of that knowledge, unite that knowledge together because it's the same. And I've seen it myself. I was shocked when I seen some of those Indians drawing an Indian tradition that deal with the 5 divine laws, that deal with the precession of the equinox, that deal with the numbering of the stars. And it's there, my people, it's there. And see, they don't want you to know that. They want you to think they was heathen, uncivilized. But they did. One thing they did say about the tribes of the southeast and the northeast, they are the civilized tribe, you know. And you had these people coming over here, ain't took a bath forever and don't want to think about taking a bath, or they thought taking a bath was for only medical reasons. And you're going to call somebody uncivilized, and you come out of the dark age, and you up some of the worst ones of their peoples over here because they had too many peoples in Europe and stuff like that. that. So this was a dream, the American dream that they pushed forward. Come on, people. We need to know this and understand this truth. Now let's deal with it. Proverbs 22:7. The rich ruler over the poor. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Now, that is what's happening in our nation now, although we have some of the people on the Ford list, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan, and even Kanye West, and some other people's, many of them, I got some on the board. And these individuals have accumulated decent money, billionaires, they billionaires. They accumulate some money. But that's, you're talking about individuals. When you name one of them, you can name 100 white folks. And see, that's what people don't see. They see, well, he got this. Well, what about these 100 white folks over there? Or what about that 100, 1,000 over there? See, what it is, they look at it like for instance, we'll have an athlete. He'll come from a state, and he'll be the one in that city, and he got a $5 million, $20 million contract. But there, you got so many white folks that got that money regular in that city. They got big money, and it's a lot of them compared to one. So we got to get our eyes on looking at this one situation, one here, one there, sprinkled like salt and pepper and all that. We got to get out of that. We got to realize that the statistics show certain things. The Bible shows certain things about our life. And we got to know how to come together. Let's deal with this coming together. We got to deal with this. Joshua 24:17-18. For the Lord our God, he it is, thought, brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Egypt. Now, this is showing you the future. This is showing you the future of us in this. We haven't came out of the land of Egypt, because when we come out of the land of Egypt, as they say, America like it is, we'll have a territory that belongs to us. So this is showing us of the future. What do the Bible do? It shows you the past, present, and future of the United States of America, of our flight here in this nation, from Genesis to Revelation. That's what it do. If you understand the arts, then you can see it. If you don't understand the arts, you can never see that. And you need to see this, okay? In Egypt is seen as America. Why is that? Because America modeled itself out of Egypt. The Federalist Papers itself came out of, the Constitution came from the Indian Federalist Paper, which came from what we call Egypt, how would we say? The knowledge of the Egyptian/Hebrew Americans. That same knowledge was over there, was over here. They built pyramids over there, they built pyramids over here. They built large cities over there, they built large cities over here. They use an art that we have not replicated did today. At the same time, over here, it's the same thing. They cut stones that we can't even imagine how they cut the stones over in Egypt. They cut stones here in America that we couldn't imagine the skill and the craftsmanship that they did it with. Okay? We can't replicate this. Okay? We can't do certain things here. And we have to see this. And we got to know that this fear that they told you, lying to you, that it's like ain't no advanced society never been over here, and black folks, you've been here. They even show you the Olmec's head and all that. And we have reproduced many things the same way over there. Sometimes you can look at some of the stuff and you got to wonder whether or not it was made here before it was made over there. And archaeologists began to tap into that and explore that, and saying that, hey, we can't say which one was first. Was the ones in Egypt or the ones in the Grand Canyon? The ones in Egypt or the ones in Central South America? And we got to see that, because we are very powerful people, but we got to come back to ourselves and quit letting somebody else define us. We need to do that, right? Let's go on with this now. I don't want to take too long on it, but what we want to get it so you can understand. From the house of bondage, and which did those great signs in our sight. Now, what is he saying? Now, this is the future. They're going to do great sign in our sight. That means God is going to deliver us. See, this saying great sign, most people look at it, oh, that was the past. That is not the past. That is now. This is our near future. And this is what it's showing us. And we got to begin to understand that. See, how it's read literally in Pesher, you think it's the past. Because you don't know the arts and you don't know who it's all about. You have to know the arts and know who it's all about. Then you'll know there are great signs in our sight that's going to happen in the very, very, very near future. And you're going to see this. So that's why I love this. God is going to show some signs and wonders like he never showed before. And you're going to see this. The thing that you think you can't do, you're going to be doing it. You're going to be connected to your Father because it shows it here. And you need to see that. And preserve us in all the way within we went, and among all the peoples through whom we passed. In other words, I'm going to show you some things that's happening in America. Although you got roughly 50 million black folks in America, you don't have banks with no money. Asians have banks with probably more money. They have banks with more money than you have. Asian America, especially in California. See, black folks, you ain't got no money in the bank. Although you bring in a certain amount of money every year, your revenue, you bring in a certain amount, yours come in and go out. Come in and go out. And we have to change that. That's not how it always been. In the 1800s, in the latter part of the 1800s, we had a certain amount of banks. Now we only have about 20 banks. Back then, right out coming out of slavery, and coming out of the condition that we was in slavery, we had over 130 banks with money in it. We had over 130 banks. That wasn't like the day with J.P. Morgan, some of the other people, money in our black bank, and we call it a black bank. No, it wasn't like that. During Reconstruction, we had money in the bank because that land was our land. And we still had certain farms in certain areas. They took our land, yes, but they still left enough for us to still keep going. And we kept going. And people think, oh, that was about, Civil War and all that was about this and that. No. See, they know that the black folks, they was workers. They worked those fields. They grew that cotton. They grew that tobacco on their own land. And they didn't want the United States government to go in with those people because that means a lot of white peasants and stuff will have to work for those black folks. Especially some of them squatters coming squatting on their land. Everywhere they put their behind belonged to the Indians, the Cherokees and etc. Anywhere you put anything, European put their butt on this land, it was on black folks' land. That's basically how it is, tell it like it is. So they didn't have anything. And they had to come and squat and then later get the federal government to fight for them to take these people's land. And since they done took it and done gave it to every European thing in the world, and black folks only have a little small black farmland. Land that they house on that they don't really own. Okay. Then we are in bad shape, people. And God want to reverse that, and he want to reverse it fast. And that's what I'm telling you. Those, what they call great signs in our sight, he want to bring that about. He want to bring that about. See, God truly loves us. And it's that time, that paradigm shift, where we ought to come up. It ain't just because Minister Armstrong saying it's time for us to come up, or some other person who God reveals to saying time up. God have fixed it in the universe. He have put it in the arts. And I'm telling you something because this here is the future. This is not the past. This is the near future. And it's very important to understand. Now let's go a little further. 18. Let's deal with 18. Verse 18. And the Lord drove out from before us all the people, even the Amorites, which dwell in the land. Now he drove out all the peoples, even the Amorites, okay? Now, in these states, this Cherokee nation, in these states, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, they include Tennessee and Alabama, but we're going to just deal with North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida right now. Now, these individuals, when he say drove them out, that means they have no claims to the land. It don't mean you decide to drive white folks and other people out of the territory where they can't live in the territory. No, drove that power structure out of the land. Oh, no matter how it was connected to whatever race, etc., it had to go out of the land. Meaning you had to set up your nation that God have chosen you to set up again. This is your land, and God will set up that nation. He will set up that nation, my people. And hey, you better believe this one. Now, why did he say even the Amorites? I want you to see this word Amorites, okay? You need to see this. This is why he put up, this is the arts. You need to see this. America and Amorites, A-A-M-M. You got an O and an E. I want you to see this, because see, sometimes you don't know how they do it, and you see it, and you can actually see that. If you see this go around here like that, tuck that other part of that, this part over there like that, and you can actually see how that's done. You can actually see the E. You see what I'm saying? You got your aura, right there, right on each other. You got your I right there. You got the T and the C, and I'm going to come back to that. I want you to see your E in Amorite, and you see how they do it. See, they knew how we going to work our letters at this time, because they could look pierce into the future. That's what Hebrew typology is. They could pierce into the future. You take this E, all you do is turn this E upside down. You turn the E upside down, you got that, go there, and go like that, you go like this and go there, and you get your A. Now you already got your S. That's Hebrew typology. Now what do we have? We have that T. So what did they see in this? They see the C. See this? See, if you got A-M-E-R-I and A-S, they could put a C in there and be wise with you, because they know what we use. If we wanted somebody to see something and we was texting something, we don't have to write S-E-E, we just put a C there. If I'm talking to you, all I do is put a U there. They using the same thing there, because it's like they can see our time. See, what we have been confused and not understanding that these people at that time, they had arts, and the arts give you ability to see the future. That's why people like Nostradamus and some of the others could do things, because they was using the arts. People, there's arts beyond measure that's hidden. And a lot of them hide them because the Catholic Church, anybody who could use certain arts a certain way, the Catholic Church was destroying them. Oh, no. If it ain't coming through the Catholic Church, it ain't coming no way. And that's what they were doing. So they went underground with the arts. Okay? Even the Knight Templars, they went underground with a lot of their knowledge. They could not be revealed like that. They couldn't show that. Okay, now I'm going to get these names. I'm going to get our names, and then we'll go to the other boards. Marcia Gordon, thank you, Marcia. I got your message, and I thank you for what you've done. Okay, thank you. Steve Coleman, Kristen Journer, Wanda Priester, Miss Mother, I put the M there so we can always remember, Mother Shirley Oliver, Brian H. Foster, Tamira C. Fennell. Okay, these are individuals that some of you already know with the cooking, and Sister Oliver, Mother Oliver, she is on our video as well. And Steve, you know Steve because he's there. And these other individuals, all of them, I put all of them name in one bundle because these individuals here are being the backbone of this, helping being the backbone of this organization. So we have to take those individuals and put them on the board at a certain time so we can understand that God is here with us, and He has put individuals to be there, to be the strong, I would say, pillars of the organization. That's very important. Now, we're going to the next one. Black banks in America. Now, we need to talk about this because we're talking about the very near future and the action of what God's going to do in here. He's going to do great things, show great signs, and we need to know that. Right now, we only have 22 black banks in America. I hate to use that term, black. 22 banks of color in America right now, okay? In 2019. We have only $4.85 billion, okay, is in these banks, 4-point-something billion. And we have to understand that during the time of the little short recession and stuff like that, a lot of those companies, like JP Morgan, etc., if I'm not mistaken now, they put money in there to help hold that up. So when you're saying black banks, you got to realize sometimes you may have a black bank, but it's white folks' money in the black bank, and we got to see that. We need to understand that. The Asians own the East-West Bank based in California with an asset of nearly $40 billion. This in California, people. I want you to see this now. California, Asians. You got 4.8, or just say, let's round it off, just say 5 billion. You got $5 billion in your bank. This Asian bank alone got $40 billion in it. And you trying to tell me something ain't wrong with what's going on in our community, in our leadership? People, when you got that, these people, when you look back at the amount of Asians in America back in the 1800s, stuff like that, that's a small amount. If you look at the black population compared to the Asian population right now, small amount. But look at the money. See, they seeing this in them. You don't go and see their kids all with their pants hanging down and all this other nonsense. And don't really get me wrong, you got your style and all that, but have your style with some bank money in it, and not just style and you broke. That's what the Jamaicans and some of the other ones were saying. One while I read a little post where the Jamaicans saying, well, you know what? When we show the blangs and we show the cars on the video, we own the cars. But when the blacks of America, they show the cars and the houses on the video, they don't own it. See, we got to get out, and I ain't trying to beat up on us. I'm trying to shake us to wake us. We got to wake up because it wasn't always like this. It was not always like this. And if we did it one time before, we could do it again. And I want you to see this. Let's carry it on. In New York based JP Morgan Chase have an asset of proceed 2.7 trillion. This is JP Morgan Chase alone. $2.7 trillion. How many millions of dollars do JP Morgan Chase have of our black money in his bank? $2.7 trillion. Okay? Now see, when we got, as a people, when we got billions of dollars or trillions of dollars, just say we got 1 trillion, just say 1 trillion. Do you know how much we could move and how much shaking we could do and how much we could get respect in law enforcement and judicial situations? People, when you got money, you can make things happen. When you ain't got no money, you ain't making jack happen. So we got to understand that, whether you got it in gold, silver, and part notes, however you got it. The wise ones are going to have gold, silver, and part notes. Land, silver, and part notes. And we got to understand that. That's why this is entitled Gold and Silver. We got to understand that we need some gold and silver. And we don't need it. It ain't for Minister Armstrong to say, hey, y'all you do this and that. See, because y'all ain't going to send it to one group. Y'all ain't going to send it. Not quite yet. So you got to figure out what you're going to do to bring forth the right people, not some boule gatekeeping Illuminati Negroes. I know darn well we could find some people beside them, and we could build ourselves, because the gatekeeping Illuminati Negroes are the ones in our society right now that they got billions of dollars, but they ain't investing nowhere around you. We already got them here, and I could call the names of them, but I don't want to call the name because it'll upset me when every time I think about them. They won't pull the money together and carry you to pull your money together and your resources together and the savings alone. See, your regular money that you put in there to do your house notes and your other things, that could be in, it could be in your black banks as well, but it could be in the U.S. Central Bank also, and ain't going to hurt nothing, because the fact that until you build yourself. So what we got to do is understand that we need insurance companies. All that insurance money that we spending out on somebody else, and they ain't had an accident in over 10 years or 15 years, and you paying all that money for it, they ain't getting no repercussion, and they using that money to build their businesses and build their people businesses, and you ain't got jack. Whoa, that shouldn't be no more, my people. We got to believe God, because he said it's going to be a great sign in our sight. So to get a great sign, the leader, or the minister of God, or the prophet of God, or the seer of God got to see the sign. He got to see it, my people. I don't mean to holler. We got to see this one. Because he done said we coming out of this condition. And the Amorites are the Americans. And we got to see this, my people. We got to see this. Let's see this. Let's deal with this. Now let's deal with some people. Let's deal with some people that in and out of our nation, they here. A Nigerian businessman. Listen what he got. This Nigerian businessman, Magnet. This man, his last name is Dangota. I got $11.5 billion. Okay, he got $11.5 billion. Now I want you to add up these Americans now. That's one man. Now, if I put all of them, it'll be embarrassing. All the people from Nigeria in that certain area, how much money they got, them Africans, would come to all the money, okay? But I want you to see a similarity. Now, this is him, 11.5. You got Robert Smith, American businessman. He got $6 billion, okay? That's half of that, okay? Let's do it the other now. David Stewart, 3.7 billion, okay? Oprah Winfrey, 2.7 billion, okay? Kanye West, 1.8 billion. Michael Jordan, 1.6 billion. When you take this number here, this number right here, and you add it up, that's only half of this. You take this one black guy, Robert Smith, and I think he's an inventor, you add it up, that's the other half. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to equal 1 of the Nigeria. 5 of our people. And these are what we call our ones on top. And it's 50 million of us. Man, that's like, come on. What that is, how much a house, I don't even want to get into that part. How you spread that out in the household and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. So we need to understand, I'm not here trying to put us down, because we as a whole have put ourselves down. We as a whole, on part of our people, we got to do better now. We have to do better, and that's what God wants us to know, and that's my job, to show you or tell you what God is showing me to say. We got to do better, because he said that there are going to be signs, great signs that he's going to do. Great signs in our sight. And God wants to do this. And he's going to do this. So we got to see what God wants to do for us now, today. We don't need to be building no more churches. Churches is only there to take your money and not produce money to you. So we don't need to build no churches. We got more churches than we need. We need some of those churches to sell their property or use their property for social use, for homeless shelters and startup things, so they can help out. And we need to double up on our church. We need to have 1, 2, 3 church services in one building. We need to start changing up. We need to take some of our churches and turn it into places where you got vegetables and marketplace. Because in some of these neighborhoods, these black folks ain't getting good vegetables or getting any vegetables at all in certain neighborhoods. You got to go on the other side of town to get fresh vegetables. That happened right here in the city of Jacksonville. Publix closed in one area, I think it called it Gateway, and there was no fresh vegetables in there. Black folks was complaining around there, especially older people. We can't get fresh vegetables because Publix is known to give you fresh vegetables. And it wasn't happening. See, there's a lot of ills that's happening here, and we got to straighten it out. Yeah, some of our brothers and sisters in the suburbs that live in certain neighborhoods, yeah, you could go down the street to a Publix or Winn-Dixie or whatever, and all the other ones. You see, in the South, you still got a Winn-Dixie there. It took my New Jersey college mate from New Jersey to tell me, Winn-Dixie Armstrong, y'all got Winn-Dixie. He had me up with that when we was in college. He never liked it that because it was like, what, the Civil War? You're still trying to fight the Civil War down south? What's going on? Okay, and we have to deal with that kind of stuff down south, and we have to change it. And the only thing, get me wrong, the North got some bigger issues than the South got. Because they got these people, when I visit up there, they got them in these concrete jungles and these boxes up here, and they just got our peoples in every kind of way. You know, dealing with how Hillary Clinton called Barack Obama was working for the slum lords. That's what Hillary Clinton called them, the slum lords. They got the slums up north and stuff like that. So you got your problems up north, and you got your problems down south when it comes to black folks. So we have to see that. The Cherokee versus Andrew Jackson. Now this is very important. I would like for you guys to go and read the whole scenario around that, what Andrew Jackson said, what that treaty was, because they sought the blacks up. They sought them up big time. And it's ridiculous how they sought them up, because what you had the Indians still fighting to keep their land, and they trying to get them to go through this trail of tears at the same time, the United States government, federal government, and then you got some white folks that talking about they got 1/8 Indian. One of them saying about he got 1/8 Indian in him, and he claimed to be an Indian chief for the Indians that remained, or that was there, and they sought up a place and watching all that. Man, this is really game, big time, people. You need to read this thing. You need to really read it. Quit sitting down and not knowing the truth and thinking Indians are separate from you. That's our problem. We're trying to put the Indians on one plateau over there and we on another, when that's us. That's us, my people. You need to start doing your homework. Get out of this Pan-African nonsense and start seeing the truth. It's not enough Africans that came from Africa for you to go running out the Pan-African thing, and you got all this land here. You got these states here, right at your fingertips. You got the currency, the money right here. And you can't visualize what's going on? The Word of God is trying to show you this is the time. We got to put this thing together. This is not Minister Armstrong's job. This is you Negroes out there that have the capability of doing it. Y'all need to come to the forefront now. I'm going to deliver the message, but you the ones got to come to the forefront and do your job. Don't wait for somebody else to try to do something that God ain't chose them to do it. And you overlooking your purpose and what God got for you to do, my brothers and sisters. You out there. I know you're out there, because if you wasn't out there, I wouldn't have this feeling in my mind that God have showed me how to see you. Come on now. We got to wake up. The Cherokees versus Andrew Jackson. You had a guy named John Ross. John Ross and the other one, Major Ridge. Okay. John Ross, his mama had a little bit of Indian in her. I think his daddy was Scottish, Irish, or something like that, and he was a little bit pedigree Eurocentric, and with a little spice of Indian in his blood. As they say, 1/8. Come on. 1/8. You might as well say you're white, okay? Because that's where your background come from. And where your mama come from, that's where your daddy come from, okay? So say it like it is. But he's seen opportunity here. He was opportunist. And he's seen opportunity. Well, let me be the Cherokee chief. Because the other ones, they fighting the government, and they out there fighting, and they, you know, and let me go and make a deal. Okay? So he decided to make a deal and got his partner, Major Ridge, to help him out with this deal. So he approached the government, approached Andrew Jackson, and he was gonna ask for less money than what the government gave these people at that time when they left and they made the treaties. But he was there in the way, trying to be somebody he wasn't. He was no royal, he was no Indian, he was just there. Fake it till you make it type environment. And that's what we were dealing with in Cherokee land. What was Cherokee land? Ridge them had a team up to sell the Cherokee land of Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee. Okay? They were going to sell this land. They were selling this land. And Andrew Jackson, and you had one, the Marshall guy, he already said, man, the Indians are a sovereign nation. But Andrew Jackson said, hey, okay, if you're going to make them a sovereign nation, you push it. Okay? We ain't going to enforce that. Own president against the Supreme Court. We ain't going to enforce that. And see, these are the things you have, but you don't learn none of this in school. None of this. I've never seen nothing like this talked about in school. I never heard that there was a nation here before the Europeans did what they did. I never knew that the Europeans copied off the Indians in their thing to get the Constitution, the Federalist paper. I never knew that. No one taught me that. And see, that's what's so sad. They're still doing it to us today. This social engineering. And that's why it's so hard for black youth and black folks in general to get a handle on what's really going on. Because they've been lied to all the way in their public institutions and etc. And they got to come out of this. It's a shame. And what you got these territories was taken by force and manipulation. Taken by force and manipulation. Let's deal with Georgia. How much land Georgia got? Georgia, they took 37.29 million acres from them in Georgia. And they wanted Georgia because that's where they first found that gold at as well. And Georgia was fertile with that cotton and that tobacco and those products that the European was buying from the Indian, the people who stayed there were getting them from them and sending them over to Europe and other places, up north and over to Europe and market. You had North Carolina, 53,819 square miles. You got South Carolina, 32,020 square miles. You got Florida, 65,758 square miles. Okay, you gotta see this. You look at Alabama. Alabama had 52,419 square miles. Tennessee, 52,181 square miles. You change some of these miles into acres and you'll find out North Carolina had 34 million acres. 34 million acres. North Carolina had 34 million acres. South Carolina had 20.5 million acres. Alabama had 33.5 million acres. And see, all this land, my people, this is your land. And they had others, but we're going to talk about these areas. The area of the Cherokee Nation, the area of the Hebrew Cherokee Nation. This is your land, my people, and God wants you to have it back. You talking about reparation, you want to go chase a few $1,000s, and they ain't going to see no, the white folks ain't pay you no reparation like that. They don't want to give you no money. Your money ain't nothing, man. Money ain't jack compared to that land. These are millions and millions and millions of acres of land, my people. And they got to pay you taxes as long as they own them. Cities like Jacksonville, cities like Tampa, cities like Atlanta, cities like Savannah, Cities like Charleston, all these cities, all these towns got to pay you taxes. What you want they chump change for? You want your land. I don't want your money. I don't need your money. Give me my land. Give me my land and you pay me my taxes. And I have my money. I have my banks. I have everything I need. I have my people out of the prison conditions and all this. I have my people with quality jobs. I have my people with businesses and all that. Just give me my land. That's what this is about, people. Quit crying for nickels and dimes, paper notes that's worth nothing, and get your land. Your land is worth a lot. Your land is fertile. When God permitted me to go on that airship, they showed me your land. Your land, peoples. Just like this is the future, God took me in the future. Technology that's already exists here now. These people waiting to help us. They like us. And the United States government know they're here now. But they ain't telling you. There's some people that look like you with technology more advanced than our technology that could shut our weapon system down when they choose to. They ain't telling you none of that. And you got to wake up, my people. It ain't time to be playing around. It's time for your marching orders. It's time for you to see who you are and walk in who you are. Unite yourself. When I was in the pyramid, God showed me this. Unity with integrity. That's the sound of the drum that's coming out of this organization. That should be the sound of the drum that radiates in your heart and your mind. You got to unify yourself with your own people. And people say, well, you need to unify with some white folks too. Yeah, let them come to your table. Don't go to their table. It's time for you to build your own table now. Let them come to your table. Don't turn them away if they want to help you at your table. But don't sit there talking about, oh, I want to know what you got. I don't want to know nobody got to say now because we're so far behind. I want you to see what we got to say, not what you going to tell me to say. That's how I've been in the past, people. No more, no more. No more. Don't mean to holler. And we need to see this. Let's get over here to this last board. We got to see this, my people. We got to see this. Oh, because the arts don't lie. The arts don't lie. And we need to know this truthism. We need to know this truthism. Sometimes I be want to take this rug up because every so often if I don't pick my big feet up, it's going to catch it. But we're going to see Reconstruction. More than 130 black-owned banks. In Reconstruction time, we had more than 130 black-owned banks. And what happened? At that particular time in Reconstruction, and a little bit before, at that time, blacks was doing their thing. They were putting their money into these banks. They were putting their money, they knew what to do. They put their money in their own banks, not in somebody else's bank, then they put it in their own banks. And God was blessing them. The main blessing was going to come later. But God showed them what they could do at that time, and they was doing it. And we got to see this. You had people like Maggie Walker Bank, and she had that slogan, let us have a bank that will take the nickels and turn them into dollars. This was in 1901 at that time. Now, why would she say that? Because this lady knew that if we asked for nickels, we could get the 50 cents and the dollars anyway. So she began to open an account and had people come into her bank, and she had money. She made money herself. And she built that. See, you got Oprah and some of the other peoples now, don't get me wrong, they there, and Michael Jordan and Kanye and them. And them boys ain't talking about building no banks because that thing is about them. They're stacking paper for themselves. They ain't thinking about you as a whole. See, white folks, they think about themselves as a whole too. And that's how they get where they at. But black folks think, oh, we got to, we got to reinvent the wheel. You know, some things you don't have to reinvent the wheel on. Some things you need to just do what you're supposed to do. Learn how to trust your people. White folks is just as crooked as black folks at times when it comes to money. So you ain't got one group no better, and you got your money in the white folks bank anyway. And look what happened in the housing market. That tell you something right there. If you don't know anything about economics and banking and lending, come on. That little housing market thing that happened in 07, 8, 9, 10, and on and on. Because some people ain't got their stuff totally straight yet. And we got to see this. Now, Exodus 12:40. Now the sojourn of the children of Israel who dwell in Egypt was 430 years. Okay? And you got to see that. Now, why do I say that? Why am I bringing that up now? Because this word have said there are going to be great signs in our sight. Okay? So if you're going to be great signs in our sight, we got to see the art that goes with those signs. That is to be in our sight. We got to see where this transition going to happen. In other words, if Rev say, God going to give your land, God going to do this, God going to do that, you better ask when. Don't let nobody come telling you, well, God said he's going to do this, and God said he's going to do that, and you don't ask when. That prophecy could be 20, 30, 40 years away, 50 years away from here. And you got to know that. It's more than just hearing what God's going to do, when he's going to do it. Me, myself, personally, I ain't let nobody come tell me nothing. God said this, God said that, and then not me ask when, brother. I'm just being polite. Please tell me when. So I can feel comfortable that I don't have to wait on something that I think going to be here tomorrow, next week, when it's going to be 20 years from now. So I want to know when. And you should be the same way. Don't let nobody come with that, God say this and God say that and all this. No, bro, tell me when. And you tell me when and it happened, I'm going to come back to you again. Hey, bro, you know you gave me that prophecy? Or sister, you know you gave me that prophecy? It happened. How about give me another one? I would like that if you got one for me. I would. I would be bold enough to say that. Because that's what God is about. God don't leave you hanging. That was done to me one time. Oh, it was done to me one time. And brother told me, hey, God's going to do this. God's going to give you this, that. I said, when? Bank told me 4 or 5 years so I could get this or that. He told me within a year. I felt good. Why? Because that was better. Whole reason to getting away from there, I was pissed off what the bank said. And he told me within a year's time. I said, shoot, I'm going to ride with God. I'm going to ride with God. Now, the question is, did it happen? Yes, it happened within 3 months. See that? I rolled with God because I believed it. And I believed that person was a man of God. And God proved himself by making it happen. And that's what I'm trying to tell you now. That's where I'm coming from. When God sends you a messenger, you ask when. If I tell you this is to happen for you, I need to show you when. I don't say, well, God gave me. I'm the one that's supposed to bring you up. God gave me that calling. My date of birth, my name fit biblical prophecy. If I say all that, I best need to know this other part. You see what I'm saying? Trust nobody if they can't prove a truth to you. If they say they're a messenger of God and they're giving you revelation, check their revelations. Check it. Check it. Check what I have showed you and what they have. See, I leave all the videos on the air. That's one thing. There's a lot of them there, people. There's about 250 of them on there now in the last 5 years plus so many months. They are all there for you to go back and check. You could go back and see me saying 21 years of events as economic, good, bad, great, or bad, that was started the year 2000. And after then, it'll be good, bad, great, or bad, dealing with the natural disasters, and then going all the way to 2020. And I showed you that. Even had it in the book that was published. Yeah. Having both of these books. One, Judgment of America, and Black Nostradamus, Prophecy of America Future. It's in there. See, and when you go back, it's a revelation right now people could learn from. People don't realize this goes 2 years old with, that's a revelation there. for you to study how that revelation came about, how to understand that revelation, and be able to see the presence of God in the writings. It's there, people. All you got to do is order the book. And you need this, because this is how you learn the truthism. You need this. Judgment of America, you need this to study this and see the revelations that God had placed in here. See, if you say you so-and-so and God sent you, you need to know something. Don't come tell me, well, God called me this and this person, he made this person this, and then that. Wow. No, let's deal with you, my brother. You the one bringing me this message. Give me something. Give me something. If a brother make a mistake and he ain't quite sure, he need to say it in his prophecy that he's not quite sure. To understand the total of it. But don't tell me this, definitely this, and that's the only way it is, and that's it, and it don't happen. See, God said he called prophets. And he gave them what to say. So we have to see this. Let's move on with this. I want to cover this because in here, this is understanding the numbering of the stars. This is what he told Abraham to understand. The number of the stars that I can. This is numbering the stars. This and this. These two stars. These stars are 144,000 days. 144,000 days, when you hear in Revelation, it say the one with the one that's going to be with the 144,000. People mostly think that are people. Those are numbers of days, right there, 144,000. The peoples are the peoples in this circumference of time. That's who the peoples are. But the 144,000 is explaining you the circumference of days. Why is it 144,000? Because it's 400 years. You divide 360 into 144,000, you will get 4 years of the years, 360 days a year. You take your days a day, 365.25, and divide it into that, you get roughly 394 days, something in that area. And that's what it is. So you got to know these arcs to narrow time down. You need to know this. Why is this so important? How are you going to give checks and balances to this? You're going to get checks and balances to this because in order to know that this prophecy about the black man and black woman, you need to go, and the most important event that happened in their life must be concealed inside this and must be understood by releasing inside this the golden ratio. The golden ratio showing is everything is made with the golden ratio. And we need to see this. Now, how do you see that? You take 144,000 and you divide that. I think I got it over here. 144,000. You got 144,000. You divide it by the golden ratio. You get 88.997 days. You divide 365.25 into that. You get 243.6 years. You add that amount of years to 1619, you get 1862. What happened in 1862 was so important in black folks' lives. That was the year the emancipation was written, and the next year, January 1st, it went out. Everybody, all blacks should know and understand that about the Emancipation Proclamation. That's what they call themselves when they say we're going to free the slave. Okay, we're going to free those indentured servants. That we're going to free those children from them natives in America that have served the Eurocentric purpose and reasons. Okay, and this is what happened, and the golden ratio will show you that. See, God gives you the art so you have an understanding, academic understanding of what's happening. See, God is the greatest scientist there is. He's the greatest mathematician there is. And when he brings his messenger, he teaches them the arts. And they must bring the same type of message. Now let me go and deal with some other thing because it's very important. We had 1619. At 1619, why we start 1619? It was the year in which they established, bringing the law to make America, the colonies, a nation in America. 1619, where they had the assembly got together. Okay, 50 years later, 18,000 days later, you had them trying to ship blacks from areas, as their history say now, from areas of Africa to the British to the United States colonies. That's what their history say. Now these same people could have came from, could have been shipping them from the Caribbean, etc., up up the coast. And we have to understand that. You have to go back and study when the Caribbeans, they were shipping people out of the Caribbean back to America, to North America, from upper part of North America down to the Caribbean. You need to study about that. What happened next? You had the Federals. You had in 1718, you had the French opened up slavery in the area of Biloxi. That was a major thing. After then, you had in 1767, you had the time of the Thompsonite. What was the Thompsonite? What was the purpose of the Thompsonite? They had the Thompsonite because Britain was raising funds because they had too many soldiers. They was having a war going on over there in their homeland, and they had too many soldiers, sending soldiers to America to protect the American plantation settlers from the Indian raids, etc., because the Indian was coming to get their people. They were putting their children in slaves. That's who they was them slaves, and voluntary men had put them in slavery and stuff like that. And they was coming together, fighting, trying to come get their people. They always were coming trying to get their Negroes, okay? And you didn't even know this. This was your people fighting, trying to come and get you, your ancestors, okay? Now, we had in 1817, we had another event happen. What? Britain and Spain got together and said, bring no more slaves into the North American territories. You also had, what was important at the same time, you had the AME church came into existence because they call it the African Methodist Church. See, they wanted to push that African thing on you now. They wanted, and you had at the same time, you had the migrationist movement at that time. They wanted to take you back to Africa. First, people don't understand. Africa was not the place they wanted to take you. They wanted to take you to the Amazon. That's where they want to take you. But they know you ain't come from no Africa, and they knew that. So they wanted to first take you to Amazon. Even Lincoln suggested about the Amazon. Then they talked about some mountain range. And all these places was still on the North American, South American continent. And see, they ain't had no thing about taking you over to no Africa. The British had a thing about taking some on to Liberia and stuff like that, or certain places, because the Britain had brought something around that coast over to their land. But this is about the Americans, not about the British. And see, people get that mixed up and think just what the British did, we did. No, it was not. And we got to understand that. 50 years later, 1865, you had the KKK came into existence because the KKK wanted to overthrow this event that was happening in the KKK. They say that the KKK established themselves in Britain. They wasn't even establishing, getting their paperwork done in America. It was Britain, from what I hear, 1865. When you see that particular date that come around and hit that 50 years, that date end up on the date in which the KKK started up their establishment. Why did they do it? They wanted to overturn Reconstruction. They wanted to bring things back, the South back into power, or the South back in control over the blacks and stuff like that. So they was in there. Then you had in 1915, you had World War I come on the scene, and you had a great migration. The blacks moved, and a lot of blacks had left the Jim Crow South, and not all of them, but a large percent of them left the Jim Crow South, and they went into the North, and you had the Renaissance period for the blacks. And you had a time when all kind of things was happening in New Jersey, Chicago, New York. That's where a lot of blacks there now. That's where they come from, the South. Their parents come from the South during the time, the early 1900s. And it was a great exodus, migration from the South. Then you had in 1965, you had the Civil Rights Bill. You had the Equal Rights Amendment at that time. Every 50 years have something to do with the black man and his going forward or backwards, or being able to have a handle on the black man. And this is a black family, a Negroid family, of the Native American family of color. That's basically what it is. Okay, and this time you had that, but then you had all these strides, the civil rights legislation, which you had it way down here, where you had to renew it, civil rights legislation, and then you had the voting right bill, and then later on you had affirmative action, and all that stuff is gone now. In 2013, by 2013, all that stuff was going away. Every time you try to strive and get something, they tear you down. And each one of these, in between each one of these points, you strive, they tear you down. You strive, they tear you down. So what make you think they ain't finna try to tear you down now, and you right here? See, the 400 years didn't end in 2000. 19, the 400 years end in 2013, because you're talking about 360 days a year, and that ended in October the 1st, 2016. If you go from August the 1st of 1619, it ended in 2013, right here, October the 3rd of 2013. Okay, all these things are very important because you're working the arts, so you have to know this information. So why I'm showing you this right now, what is so important about this? What's important about this is as above, so below, as below, so above. These events happened down here in the Civil War, the land grab, the gold finding of Georgia, and the other things here. All these events is going to happen over here. Civil War, all this type of atmosphere is coming up here where we at now. And they're going to happen within 22 years. 22 years you're going to see that. You already hear them talking about Civil War. Right now on the news, you hear little groups rising up. You even heard during the time when Trump was in the thing with the Capitol building, they talking about an insurrection and all that stuff. See, that energy, that sound, we're hearing it now, which we didn't hear 50 years ago. We didn't hear it 20-something years ago. We're hearing it now. And this is the energy that from here is coming up here. So what do you have? In 1860 to 1861, you had the Southern Secession from the Union. This is what they're talking about now. They're talking about the South, certain parts of the South just breaking off. We tired of this. They're talking about secession right now in certain states. They don't want it. They saying, look, we can do better on our own, especially states like Texas. We can do better on our own. And other states, they're talking that language right now. They were even talking that language during the time that Barack Obama was in there. That language, you hear that language in this time right here. Between 2013 and 2063, you hear that language right now. We got to pay attention to the beat of these drums right now, because they are great signs going to be in our sight. They are great signs being in our sight to let us know that God is not joking. He's going to make this stuff happen so we could get our land. Great signs in our sight. What's another thing that happened at that time? 1861 to 1865, you had the Civil War. 1830 to 1860. You had the Removal Act of 1830, where they moved us out of this area. They moved us out of this, and we went in the Trail of Tears. Now God going to return us back. And you got to see that. You return back to your land, right here. Return back to your land. Some of us already own the land, but we haven't captured the land. In other words, God haven't put it and say, here you go. So the nations of the world could say, this your land, here you go. That haven't happened, and that's got to happen. That's why he used that term, great signs in our sight. We got to see that. What else happened at the time? 1862, you had the year of the emancipation. 1863, in January 1st, issued. In this when it was issued. It came out, written in 1862. It was January 1st. It was issued. 1846 to 1848, you had the American-Mexican War at that time. So this stuff was happening down here. It's going to happen here, so you're going to have war. Okay, Mexico was not considered part of the United States. That means that America is going to come in conflict with somebody else at that time, at this time. Okay, just like you had the American-Mexican War, that was an international war, we're going to have one that's going to happen. Who is that going to be? Is it going to be China? Is it going to be Russia? Is it going to be Iran? Who is it going to be? We're going to come into a war, and something is happening. It's brewing up right now. America don't like how they're having a economic war against China and all that other stuff. Asking Russia, well, you know, why you let this happen, and why they been able to build this battleship and all this, why is they being able to build islands outside the Pacific, all that and all this and all that. See, all this stuff is brewing up right now, and you got to see this, people. These are signs and wonders. These are things that God's showing you the arts in, and God has sent his messenger to give you the understanding. These things, these type of events here, is the events that's coming up here, right in this space here, and we got to see that. We got to understand that. Let's go a little further now. You had 1835 to 1836, Texas Revolution. Events happening in Texas. Okay, what did Russia say? Russia said the United States, and we played it in one of our videos. You go back and look at our video and search it. He said the United States should give the American, Negroes of color, the African American, whatever you want to call them, should give them North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. He said that territory they should give those people, because why would they speak up like that? Because Russia is 72% Christian, and they know this word. They know this stuff here. Yeah, well, some kind of way Americans think they the only one. Them Russians had this stuff too. This stuff has been known. This for some reason we think we know it all, and we've been lied to. We got to understand who the other people. Well, communism is this, and we hear all this propaganda against these nations and all that, and we the one raising all the hell against the people. We the one is discriminating against the peoples and stuff like that. Russia wasn't having us go to one lunch counter and then go to other. Russia wasn't having this person rise up and can't get loans from their banks and this one can. Russia didn't have none of that stuff. But we do. But we always talking about somebody else, instead of pointing at ourselves. America have treated peoples of color very badly. Although they done let a few get through the well. And they look at them and they show them. And they show celebrities on TV. This celebrity got this and celebrity got that. But won't you walk down certain streets, State Street? Won't you walk down certain streets, or what they call the Martin Luther King streets? Won't you walk down certain streets of all these cities and see what the hell is going on? So it's time out for this stuff, people. It's time out for playing like you're doing something. Black folks, you got a long ways to go and a short time to get there. You need leadership that's going to show you God and the events, so you can walk in His grace. It's time, it's that time now. Quit trying to look for some Jesus to come deliver you out of the sky. And I got to write this here, because this thing is really getting to me. I love my people. This J is a code name, people. It is a code name. It comes from this word. I may have a letter out, I hope not. It comes from a Latin word, okay? There was no J. This word is a code name. This goes this way. Or you could put L-O-U-I-S. That's what that word is all about. Quit talking about some Jesus come and deliver you, and you don't understand him. You need to understand Jesus. See, Jesus is real. The real Jesus. But his name never been Jesus. But God just let it lay on and go on, because that's what the U.S. Century taught you. Okay? Jesus that died 2,000 years ago did not exist. That was a made-up story. That's why they had to give you the second coming of Christ. That's what the second coming. See, what kind of God you have, he can't do it in the first coming. He got to come back to the second coming. No. We have to get out of that. We got to begin to understand this thing better. I'm not here trying to punch on Jesus, because Jesus is the way I went in the beginning as a child. That's all I knew, Jesus. I get on my knees and holler, Jesus, 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 until something happened. I feel good. I used to go pray for people. I went and prayed for people. I will fast, my people, because I believe. In the way I was taught, I believe. I had faith. See, God know our faith. And he know that if we was taught the truth, it will still be all right. It'll be good. But since we weren't taught the truth, he permitted certain things to happen anyway. That's what he do. That's how much he loves us. And I've seen people, I have prayed and fasted that sometime when I go to the medical door, to the door at the hospital at that time, and I would knock on the door. I remember one time I went to knock on the lady's door. When I went to knock on her door, she was opening the door at the same time. She said, young man, come on in. You the one that God has sent to me. See, I don't play with the whole thing. I ain't come playing with that. I was on my knees. I had a little girlfriend. I wouldn't touch her. I wouldn't bother And God showed me miracles. He showed me certain things. So I grew up off Jesus with that. But God showed me a vision where he wanted me to move up higher. He wanted me to know more truth. And all I'm trying to tell you, the things that you have got and you believe in Jesus and you believe that Jesus gave it to you, God gave it to you. Because of your heart. He healed those people when I went and prayed for them because of my heart. I didn't know all this other stuff. But when I learned it, I understood why he gave me a vision. He wanted to show me more. And then I read the stories of people that start showing the truth, and I know they don't want you to hear the truth. And I started saying, wait a minute. And I started studying the arts and realized that part of that book was not about some people's 6,000, 4,000 years ago, or 2,000 plus years ago, and 4,000 years ago. It was written about us. And that's what I see. Let me go. I gotta shut it down. Okay, I'd like you to send your donations, and we need help to get our land. So we're gonna need individuals. We also need you. Individuals need to subscribe to this organization. We need you and others. Just have people to subscribe to the channel, please. We need that. We're gonna talk about that each time. We're gonna bring that out. But you send your donation to Louis Armstrong Ministry at 7536 Jana Lane North, Jacksonville, Florida 32210. That's Louis Armstrong Ministry at 7536 Jana Lane North, Jacksonville, Florida 32210. Cross Rock, you can use that same address for Cross Rock Incorporated. And you can go on GiveLify on your mobile app on the Cherokee. With Cross Rock Incorporated, go GiveLify on your mobile app with Charity. You can also go PayPal, ArmstrongLewisJ@gmail.com. That's PayPal at ArmstrongLewisJ@gmail.com. And I'd like us to say say a prayer right quick and say this. I'm going to say right quick, say a prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us an opportunity to see these events, see these things, see the future. Heavenly Father, bless your people. Bless them with the mindset that they see you working in their mind and in their life, Heavenly Father. Bring us to that level that you say we will be in the very near future. Bring us. Show us how we're going to get our land back. Show us all these things we need to understand, Father, and the benefit of it. Show how we're going to be united together, Father, in their minds. Help us understand this vision more clearly, Father. Now say this in the name of thought, our Savior. Amen.
We are telling them once, the rise of the children of Israel. Louis, that is.